morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I am, at the moment, going to hit you with this. Let's go and reply to that. I need to put this on, so I'm going to take that off for a sec. Don't forget, we've got the Maplethorpe Constitutional Weekender. So it's on a Friday night where there's a comedian, Saturday, and then Sunday. So on Saturday, we got the English Constitution Party, where we're going to be having discussions and some votes on various issues. And then on Sunday, we are going to be talking, going for a full seminar and talking about slavery. And I'll be talking through Granville Sharp and some of the elements of that, which is crucially important because some of that's going to be in the book. And especially the fact that a number of judges and the Attorney General and the Solicitor General and the Chief Justice at the time all opined extrajudicially that slavery was lawful. And Granville Sharp, as a layperson, persuaded them they was all wrong through his research. And then he got a very brave barrister to present that case, and the judges agreed that it was unlawful under English common law. But we will be talking about that. I'll be talking about a number of things, especially to do with Virginia and some other bits. There's a really interesting part about jurisdiction that come up during that case. So I'll be talking about all of them things. But it's important because it's still just as valid today as it was then. The same legal issues are just as valid today as there was then, because we are an English common law jurisdiction. And once people understand that, we are not Roman law. So this event is going to be really important, and I want as many people as possible to come along to it, not least of which because we're going to be voting on some issues. That's it. Can everyone see and hear me, by the way? Because I'm going to go through some other parts in a minute. But before I do, I'm going to get stuck in to this show. Right, just to let you all know, if you can subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you're watching on YouTube, come across to Rumble. It is the number one platform. There's no funny algorithms there. If you come over, you'll see that we've got just under 10,000 subscribers. In fact, if you take the other channel, we've got over 10,000 subscribers. If you look at other people, they all rely on the promotion of YouTube and the way that it decides what it's going to promote and what it doesn't, and it actively censors. In fact, it forces self-censorship, which I won't do. Right? Anyone who's listened to me knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I just want everyone to understand. Subscribe, share, because sharing is caring. Oh, right, okay. I'll put that out in a couple of minutes. Majorly, just to let you know. So yesterday, not majorly, just letting you know, and then we're going to get on to the major stuff. Yesterday I had a call from the hospital, an emergency call from the hospital. Why is this pinging in my ears? I had a major call from the hospital, and unexpected, and it said, we've got an emergency appointment for you at 11:30 today, right? So I had to make my way to the hospital, and it was to sort out this particular eye. So that eye is the one that's got a lot of pressure build up, and they said that what you've got is this acute glaucoma, angled, and the pressure in your eye is so bad that it is a medical emergency, and we want you to come in, right? So I've gone in, and they also told me last time I was there, get any pain in your eye or your head, go straight to A&E and tell them what we told you to say. I said, all right. Anyway, so obviously I've gone up there. They put me on this, give me some stuff in my eye, lasered my eye. So I had 5 of these shots into my eye from a laser. It's to put another drain in. Then took it off for a while, and then put it back on, and then pinged it again, which was quite uncomfortable. And then I come out, and Janet was sitting there in the waiting for me, not realising it was over quite quick, within 10 minutes. And she said, "You all right?" And I was like that. She's sort of looking at me like in the chair. And I looked at her and I said, "It's a miracle." She went, "What?" I said, "You're beautiful." And there was a couple of women there sitting there laughing, right? And I said, "It's like giving me a permanent filter." I said, "You've got no wrinkles. You don't need a facelift." She went to me, "You beep," right? And there was a few people giggling. Anyway, yeah, it was all right. It wasn't hurting. I'm going to thank DN for sending me that lovely letter, by the way. I received it today, and I read through your letter. I understand, and I was very grateful for that. The other quick one, let's do any other auxiliary parts. I could tell you lots of other things, but I won't. What's that? Get that sorted, Graham. I had a vein burst in my eye. I had to go to 9 injections in the eye to get 8% of my eyesight back in that eye. Not fun at all, mate. I don't recommend it. Well, it's funny you should say that. They're saying they can see something else in the eye, but they have to get rid of pressure before they look at it, and they can see some veins on the optic nerve. And they said, "Have you been having blurry vision?" I said, "No." Any pains and all that? I said, "No." And they said, so let me just make sure I finish this off. This all come about because I went for an eye test, a routine eye test, and they installed this new bit of kit where not only do they give you a puff test on your eye, which is a pressure test, but they also got a scanner in there. So they scan my eye and they said something wrong. And then they give me this other test where they look at where you do a test with white lights. And they said, no, there is definitely something wrong with your right eye. And evidently, this is some sort of screening process for glaucoma and more advanced, or I think acute glaucoma. And they said it's really like it. Anyway, so this is just Specsavers, right? They said, "We're giving you a direct referral to the hospital, like bypassing your doctor. We're going to give you a direct," and that's what they did. Then I went up there. Then they looked, and I told you, didn't I, that I was looking at my eye, and the guy said, "Look, I need to go and get someone." So he went and got the surgeon. I was like, he rolled up, right? And then he's looked and went, and you got two doctors looking in my eyeball. And they both said the same thing. You need an emergency. They said, "We're going to give you these drops, but you need to come in and have this thing. We're going to get you in as quick as we can." So, do you know when everything comes at the wrong time? Because I'm sort of preparing for the seminar, and I'm like, "Fuck, what am I going to do now?" So anyway, it took a few hours out of the day sorting that out, but it has been done. But then they're having me back in 2 weeks' time to do the other eye. But my vision's gone back to normal after a few hours, even though one of my eyes looks funny. It's the other eye looks funnier than the one that they've done. But just to let you know. So the other side of it is, just to let you all know, so again, that's a standard eye test, which is, by the way, if you're over a certain age, I can't remember whether it's 50 or 55, but I think it's 50, you've already paid. I'm not going to say it's free. You get it. You get it on the National Health Service, right? And your glasses and your prescriptions and all that. And when you go into most of these shops, except for the ones in Devon, any ones in London, it's full of Pakistanis and foreigners, right? That get the same privilege, right? When it's our right, but they're allowed to have it. Good thing is there was none there today. That was funny as well. It was a little Indian doctor, a woman, but her name was Dr. Thomas. I was like, they doing what the Jews do, changing their last names. And then I thought, I bet she's married. I said, your husband called Mr. Thomas? She went, Dr. Thomas. I said, was his first name John? She just looked at me. She said, do you know him? I was going to say, she's just about to laze me off. I thought, there's got to be a prick to marry. But I didn't say that. You know, someone's just about to zap your eye. I thought, no, turn it in, shut up. Right. Yeah, John Thomas. Does everyone know John Thomas is? Right. Sorry, it's just my English sense of humour coming out. I do apologise. Probably couldn't even hear me, could you? Right, but it's the type of thing that I do. Right, Janet says you're a full Comanche lunatic. You'd have to do this, isn't it, all day long? Right, wake the English up. Anyway, there it is. I'll just explain that one to you. So don't forget, sharing is caring. Don't forget to hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing is really important because we want to get this channel well in excess of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. What I was about to say. Tracy Truism. And there was someone else, but I forget who it was now. Tracy Truism's birthday tomorrow, and she may not be here tomorrow night, but she is coming for the weekend. So I'm going to say, ready? Everyone, and loads of English flags. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tracy Truism. Happy birthday to you. Now I want a big round of applause. You'll hear me. Graham, did you have to take a translator with you? What do you mean, with my jokes? Or you or do you mean a bud? No, I didn't need a bud. We went to London, didn't we? We were in a curry house. And he come up and I give him a small tip, only a small tip. And at the end of it, I said, thank you very much. He went, thank you. I went, bud. Just walk out, right? And there's people looking, thinking, this guy's mental. But there you go. Right, happy birthday to you, dear Tracy. All coming up there, Ray Woods. How you doing, Mr. Woods? Let's see who else is out there. I'm not seeing any comments on here at the moment from YouTube. Tracy Truism, D Doherty 5956. You're not doing the scar singing, are you, Graham? Right? What's the scar singing? Carl Show. No, I'm not singing the scar stuff. No. What is scar?
You know, like Madness and the specials, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, is that scar stuff?
That's scar.
Is that's what they call it, scar?
Yeah.
No, I was more at Sham 69.
Yeah.
Hurry up, Harry, come on. We're going down the pub. I've got a tune. Every time I start singing something, there's a little tune that starts singing on the left of me. Juicy and Lucy, thank you everyone. Mr. and Mrs. English, this is what you really want. Hiya Chuck Money, happy birthday to you. Bovie T, happy birthday. There's a big delay with this, you know. Deanne, evening. Bam7, Milking It Jenkins, Murtek. Follow this channel and give a share and leave a comment in the chat. I don't really want people promoting other channels on here. We don't do that on other channels. Bam7, Lone Star 5903, Grumble, Colshar, XY, Staffordshire, Ace Jace is that there? Steve 0206. It was my birthday yesterday. Steve 0206. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Steve. 0206. Happy birthday to you. See what I mean? I do try and get people in with that. Neil 56. Tyrants out, evening all. Hiya, hope you're good. Tracy Truism. What's this one say? Thank you, everyone. Right, let me get into this one. Before we go any further, because I need to go and show you this one. Hopefully it's that one, or is it that one? 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 No, it's that one. Oh, it's gone pear-shaped on me. Oh, there you go. It's on the screen as we speak. Let me see if I can raise that up. Oh, why ain't that working? Hopefully, I might have to shut that one down again, stop sharing, put that one over that side. I think that's the one. Yeah, no, you should be seeing that rising and coming off, and it's not doing it. Oh dear. What's going on with that? I know. Not that one. Not that one. Unity News, not that one. Oh, right. That's why I got it wrong. I've got the wrong thing up. How's that? Can you see that? This was Rupert Lowe MP. Some good news to come out of Pakistan. Pakistanis who gang raped a French tourist in front of her 3 children after her car ran out of fuel will be executed, court rules. And that's had 500,000 views so far. Weren't sent out that long ago. So I'm asking you what you think of that. Now, I have got some opinions. I do want to bring back the death penalty. And importantly, I want to make sure people understand this. In order to do that, you've got to stop the crooked system. You've got a crooked system, which is the CPS, the police, the judges, most of the Defence Council and solicitors, etc., and the media. And you can't really have a death penalty in place unless you literally sort this country out root and branch and go back to a proper, real judicial system, an investigative system, and a media that tells the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that is not what's happening. So it's a bit of a dangerous thing. But I do accept and I do believe that there are certain instances of some people where absolutely they committed the murder, right? For example, the one that's just happened with Novak, his killer should be hanged publicly, all right? And so should the rapists and some of their family members. The others should be immediately deported. And the other word for deportation in English terminology is to banish. Right, so you're picking them up, throwing them out of the country. They lose their chatels, they lose their property, any of their money in their bank accounts, their property, etc., is sold and then given basically to their victims, right? And they're not allowed to get away with it. So that banished is the word. So we used to call. What they're now calling deportations, we called banishment. So you was banished from England and the shores of England. You was gone. You could even stick people in a boat and just send them out to sea. They was never allowed to come back here. I think I told this story before, but in English law, if you got to a church. You had and there was a bell on the front, and that meant that if you was an outlaw and you rung that bell or you had an offence, you had sanctuary. They couldn't get rid of you, and they call in the coroner from the coroner's court, which was the highest court in the land, for dealing with them type of offences. And it didn't matter what the offence was. If you pleaded guilty and agreed to banishment, right, they would give you 6 weeks from a date from the date you rung the bell to get out of the country, and you was given free passage to get out as long as you didn't commit any offences on the way. You could get on a boat. You could go and say, "Offer my services to the ship's master or whatever, but just get me off this island." And that's how we got rid of. And if they ever come back, they'd be hanged or worse, right? So that's how we. So we was quite humane in that way. And then later on, they adopted other forms of that, which was transportation, which wasn't technically banishment, because if you finished your sentence, you could come back if you survived it. Very few people survived going to Africa. Many people survived Australia and some other areas. But there it is. So there's a few things that I want to show you. What I'm going to do now is stop sharing that a second, go back to my other part. Hopefully I'm going to bring some stuff up. I'm pretty disgusted a lot of things I'm seeing. So I'm going to show you this one. Now, UNN networks, let's see if he's up there. I think that's the one I want to share with you. There it is on the screen. Can you see that on your screens? I'm not sure. If you're watching on a little tiny computer, you wouldn't be able to see it. But UNN networks, a source close to the heart of Restore has been in touch to say Ben Habib will likely be offered a senior role within the party after he disbanded his own advanced party. I find it a bit odd, right? But I won't say any more. Let me see if I can bring that down a bit more so you can see it. They have said it presents an opportunity to solidify their support with Elon Musk and the wider Zionist establishment. They also said it presents an excellent opportunity to rid themselves of what the party describes as toxic elements who have all threatened to leave if Habib takes up a position in the party. Now, I'm going to give you my opinion of that, and it's only my opinion, right? Which I'm going to try and blow up on the screen so you can see. Can you all hear what I'm talking about here? Can you all hear what I'm talking about? So, yeah, I mean, I don't like the fella. So what I've said is this. Did everyone hear what he said? I can't remember what channel he was on. I think it was an American channel. It might not have been. It might have been Dan Wharton. It might be. It's one of the big ones. He said that, or he insinuated, he put forward that the reason why Rupert didn't want anything to do with him was the colour of his skin. Right? So he played the race card against Rupert. He was accusing him of racial discrimination, which is a criminal offence. The same reason they would not do a deal with Farage or Mohammed Zia Youssef applies to Benjamin Naim Habib, right? Now, if you watched and I'm not going to play it, I don't like what he says, but for a simple reason. The guy does not like anything to do with England. He was born in Pakistan. His mother is English. His father is Pakistani, and he describes himself as a British Pakistani. He does that, right? He is not culturally English. But even if he was, and I'm making this very clear, even if he was culturally English, right, that means you abide by our laws, you are a Christian, you are a Protestant or a Catholic, right? Don't forget, I ain't got an issue with the Catholics. I have got an issue with Jesuits. Jesuits are very dangerous people, and there's a reason why they was banished from England and banished from Switzerland and banished from quite a few other countries. Jesuits, right? But here is the key to this, and I just want everyone to understand this. Benjamin Naim Habib. I think that Benjamin is the same spelling as Benjamin Netanyahu, right? Ben Yamin Wood has stated on a number of occasions he's a British Pakistani. He did say on one of those big shows, someone would tell me which one it was, but he said that he believed that Rupert Lowe didn't want him to be part of it because of the colour of his skin. I want to make it clear that he is not culturally English, right? I believe he's played the race card before. I believe it's part of the reason why he is so wealthy in this country. That them lot stick together. That them lot. My uncle used to call Pakistanis at Sikhs, from the Punjab and Pakistan, and Muslims. He used to call them brown Jews, right? Because they only done business with each other, they banked with each other, etc. But the most important thing is about Benjamin is he is not culturally English, and this is the point that people should understand. Even if he was, he is constitutionally, if you restore the English Constitution, right, he is constitutionally forbidden to be a member of Parliament or have any position of authority, profit, etc., or authority. He couldn't even be a councillor and an MP because his father is a Pakistani, right? So if I made myself clear with that, so if he was culturally English, I wouldn't have a problem with him. He describes himself as British Pakistani. I wouldn't, and again, he can't go. He said that a million times. It's a bit like him playing a race card against Rupert. I think Rupert would be asking for trouble, but I don't run that party. But when I was listening to Cole Benjamin, I believe, spelt the traditional way. Cole Benjamin was talking about sensible nationalism. Well, so constitutionalism, or English constitutionalism, incorporates English nationalism. It is about the jurisdiction of England, right? The really important thing that people have got to understand with this is you cannot, if people are born here and they're culturally English, you could send them back to where either one of their parents come from. But if one of their parents is either Scottish or Welsh or Irish, meaning Northern Irish, or English, it would. You wouldn't be very civilized to do that. I don't think so. I think it would be grossly unfair if they were culturally English. So if they respected our laws, they was law abiding, they was working, they were decent people, they were Christians, and they ticked all your boxes as a good person, why would you want to get rid of them? Is the answer. Why would you want to do that? But that is not to say that that person could become an MP. They couldn't. And technically, nor could their children. Right? And if they then went with someone else that was, not from our dominions, then they couldn't either. Right? But in Ben's case in particular, he's got two things against him. One is he is not English culturally, and two, He talks about the Constitution, yet doesn't even understand that England has a Constitution, and Scotland has a Constitution, and Britain, as in the British, do not have a Constitution and never will have. He's a bit like Tommy Robinson and others. I mean, Paul Falk left, deserted the country, as it were. And he actually said that he was keeping his family safe. That's why he did it, right? Again, people like me, I believe Devon, there's a couple of places in England that have got to be safeguarded. And I believe Devon is the top of that list, without any doubts whatsoever. In my mind, there is no other place. And by the way, I send my condolences to the three Navy crew of a helicopter that crashed just outside Oakhampton in Devon the early hours of this morning. All three of them was killed on a training exercise. And again, I want everyone to understand, I do respect our military. And again, you've got three young men killed on that helicopter training at early hours of the morning in the pitch black dark over the moors. Evidently had engine problems, and then there was a serious problem. It just went bang and fell out of the sky. So again, I send my condolences to the family and to the military on their loss. So the major point I'm getting at is this guy's come out and done a 12-minute. There's something very odd as well that he said. Not odd, but he did actually say something about he set a barrier or a thing that if we get to 30,000 members, I'll start a political party, right? And he got to 30,000 members. Their college, I can tell you now, I know people that left it, and they said he countered things that they was coming up with, right? I'm not interested in what he says about that party whatsoever. In any way, he shouldn't have been running it, and he certainly shouldn't be elected as a member of Parliament constitutionally. 1948 British Nationality Act, Schedule 4. We need to annul that act as soon as possible, right? Because that's what's causing a lot of problems, and you won't solve the problems until you take them people out of them positions. So that's why it needs abolishing, annulling, right? As if it had never been law, and then we can say all of you out, right? And again, we need to look at Oxford University and pull the ticket of every single person who went to that university, because that's the place that really started pushing the mind virus in a big way. So did the London School of Economics. To a lesser extent, but it's now increased massively, is Cambridge University, right? But if you think that all of the problems we've had have massively accelerated since the Second World War because of the things that they did, and I can show people exactly what they did after the Second World War. Just under 80% of all our prime ministers since the Second World War have all come from Oxford University. Anyone, and when I would go further than that, and I would say that anyone that went to that university should be stripped of their assets, their pensions, everything. And people will say that's collective punishment. A lot of these people didn't have anything with you, but you never spoke up. You never spoke up about what they was putting into people's minds, the way they was training people in the judiciary. So it also means that a lot of the judges will be pulled because they're not qualified. Right? So you've got a number of ways of pulling them people out of these positions. That's what's really crucially important. Do you all understand that? You just got to think out of the box. How you take down this system, and but it sends a message out to the other universities, right? It sends a message out to the other universities. This is what we're going to do. And then the students of other universities will go, hang on a minute, we don't want anything to do with this mind virus. I think everyone should get what I'm getting at, and these places are dangerous, very dangerous to this country. So again, don't forget, sharing is caring. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit the share button. So what I'm going to do now, before I do anything else, let me see what else I was going to show you. So that was all that stuff from last night. I can take that one down. This was fantastic, I think. Right, so I'm going to play this and send this out to you. I'm quite impressed with this fella. Let me share this tab instead, right? This is Shane Wiskin. Right, here he is. And people got some explaining to do. I'm not tagging her either. I don't know who he's talking about her, but they will silence me. We know the truth, right? The right to keep bear arms is a birthright and an inheritance. Let me show you what he said.
Now, this is a message to the Home Secretary and the rest of the government that are trying to play stupid games now. Last night, before we announced who that officer was, we done our homework. We've got the evidence, which I'll attach in a minute. The first people to announce that that officer was the officer wearing his body cam footage was the mainstream media. Your mainstream media. Yahoo, Echo Southampton and a few other places announced that he was the officer. Now, last night, when we done a check on ChatGPT, Grok and Google, all three AI platforms documented that that officer was the officer wearing the body cam footage. And guess what? We screenshotted it, as you're going to see here. But 8 hours later, after the Home Secretary comes out and makes a comment and saying that that ain't the officer that was involved, funny that, isn't it? That all of a sudden, when you go and check on them AI platforms, it's all been removed. It's all been removed, other than Grok.
Right, so I'm going to stop it there for a sec. Now, that just shows not only that this fella, Shane, Wiskin, I have to keep looking at it because it's all in one word, right? He's very clever. And the double warning to everybody out there is do not trust AI. Garbage in, garbage out, right? But the bit that I am shocked about is that when he went back and checked, it was all removed, right? So the mainstream media had put it out there. They wanted everyone else to jump on it. So you're being given misinformation, but Shane was clever enough to take screenshots before and after and said, look what they've done, right?
Why? Why is that? And I'll tell you another thing. We've got the full body cam footage, and we know that you muted loads of it out. There were certain things said by that officer that you have muted. Now, why would you do that? He deserves justice. Every single police officer involved should be held and arrested and jailed for corporate manslaughter. You laid a bleeding
Need to stop it there, right? So Shane is not a lawyer, but he's about to say something where he understands his rights. He's not a lawyer. Corporate manslaughter is not what they should be charged with. There are a number of things that they could be charged with, including, depending on the actual facts of the case, the Criminal Justice Act 1988, Section 134, torture, or it could be they could be charged with basically corruption in public office. I forget what the exact term is for the law. But there are other things criminally they can be charged with. They could technically be charged with joint enterprise. Why? Because he said 9 times, "I can't breathe," and they handcuffed him. Right? They're saying he would have died from his injuries anyway. Right? But that's not the point. They could have saved him. And if you talk to anyone, if you start dragging people across a gravel floor, handcuffing them, and then turning them when they have got a knife wound to the lungs, and where he's been stabbed 5 times, the blood is pouring into his lungs, and you put him in a position where his lung has opened up instead of calling medics and trying to assist him, right? I would say aiding and abetting a murder, joint enterprise. There's plenty of things that could be looked at, but it is the one thing it isn't is corporate manslaughter. The next thing to say to you is, and I'll get back to this because I think it is important. If I can bring it up on my screen, which I will, and then I'm going to come back to this video because I think it's really important. This fella is very clever and deserves to have a bit of information stuck out there. Hopefully I can find it again. And I may, where is it? It was the police element. Let's see how far it goes. Oh, there it is. Right. So I'm going to bring this back up on my screen again, share this instead. Right. So I spoke to everyone last night. This is really important because this means that each individual police officer that attended that is individually responsible for negligence, various elements of what happened, and it's all in there, right? So we'll go from that element, and again, it's on the screen if anyone wants to read through it. But it actually tells you those hold the office of constable or servants of the crown. Each sworn constable is an independent legal official, and each police officer has personal liability for their actions or inaction. The chief officer of the force to which the constable is attached also has a level of corporate responsibility, right? So therefore, vicarious liability levelled at the chief constable or Metropolitan Police, commissioner, etc. But the individuals can be found liable, and then if one of them is found liable, then so is the chief constable. Do you all understand what I'm saying? This is about suing, but this is also criminal as well, right? And again, if I went back and showed you what the House-Speed Laws of England says, right, about the Constitution, you can use the Constitution in every formal court, right, including a magistrate's court. So I'm going to go back to this and keep it running.
Person on his side. No matter how much that knife goes through armour, I don't want to hear none of that. I don't care. They shouldn't have had the knife in the first place, right? They shouldn't have had a knife in the first place. If we ain't allowed to carry a knife, then no one else should be. But I ain't for banning the Kirpan, whatever the fuck it's called. Because as an Englishman, under the English constitutional law, 1688 Bill of Rights Act, as an Englishman, we are allowed to take up arms to defend ourselves. Now let's make it happen. I think that's fair, don't you?
I think that, Shane, I think that's very fair, son. Now that is a man that is listening, he's only got to read the original Bill of Rights, which I could pull up there, and everyone will understand that we are being lied to and deceived by the British state. But Ben Habib, a British Pakistani, is never going to accept that he cannot have a weapon because he's not an Englishman, right? He'll just have to rely on us defending him. But I can tell you now, there's plenty of men out there that will take up arms. We was disarmed previously, prior to 1688, by the Catholics. We were persecuted, our women were raped, we were murdered, we were plundered and pillaged by Catholics, by the way, and severely prejudiced in jobs, etc., sent to prison, banished unlawfully. And it took the Glorious Revolution to understand we need to stand up, and that's why the Prince of Orange come in, right? The right to keep and bear arms was an existing right. Just to make sure you're all aware of that, it was an existing right. It pre-existed the English Bill of Rights. It's an ancient law and custom of the English. An ancient law. It's an ancient right for us to defend ourselves. And it is a God-given right. It comes from the Bible. And again, if you actually read Lord John Summers, he states that if someone is attacking you and you do not defend yourself and you die, that is the equivalent of suicide. Right? And therefore that is a sin. That's what Lord John Summers, the framer of the English Bill of Rights, stated. So once you understand that, and you understand that these people are only carrying a kapan because some religious ceremonial rite under Sikhism, Jesus Christ stated, and I believe I'm quoting correctly, sell your cloak and buy a sword. So what gave anyone in that parliament the right to take our arms when we have a religious right as English Christians to bear any arms for our self-defense, right? And the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is law. It is constitutional law. It is the highest law of the land. It cannot be overridden by any other ordinary statute. It's a constitutional statute, and it came from a convention, parliament, and convention era. In other words, a revolutionary settlement. And that's what these people are going against. So Shane is bang on the money with this, right? But from what I'm seeing more and more young people, especially when I explain to them, it is their inheritance. So it's a bit like their mum and dad dying, right? Happens to everyone. Your mum and dad leave you a load of money, and the government saying, well, you ain't having it, we're having all of it. So what would you say to that? Well, a right and a privilege, right, that you've been granted by your ancestors and put into constitutional law. In effect, the Bill of Rights is a trust document, right, that is to be passed from father to son or from mum to daughter, whatever way you want but it is English. And yet, and again, they're now saying to everyone, they're now saying that the Scots are exempt. They can carry this sock knife or whatever it's called, right? So the only people yet again to be disarmed completely are the English Protestants. Everyone else can have a blade except us, right? And that's basically what they're saying. Mr. Hempman, we have allowed our children to suffer, which could have been prevented. Yep, we could have easily prevented all of this. A right paid for in blood, I agree. Bam. This is a question I always wonder. But what authority did Tony Blair have to bring about the Constitutional Reform Act? None is the answer. But it wasn't just a Constitutional Reform Act. They have changed the Bill of Rights unlawfully, and I've shown people that. That's going to be in the book, by the way, but more detailed so people can see it clearly. Anyone who is a layperson or legal professional will clearly say, and a judge, if they read it, will say this was ultra vires. They was never allowed to touch this. How did they get away with it? Well, the answer is because they hid it. So again, I just want to make sure everyone understands this. Where they're hanging rapists in Pakistan, right, and you can clearly see that, it is the British that's allowing them to murder and rape virtually or exclusively English white working class girls, right? Charlie Downs has said that, right? That's why I like him. At least he's talking about England, and he's acknowledging it is predominantly white working class English girls, right? So the thing that you've got to look at is if we've got no laws against rape, for example, or expressly allowing rape of a certain type of people, you're going to encourage all them rapists to come over, right, and rape and do what they want here because they know there's no penalty for it. They'd be raped in their own country, but they can come here and get away with it, right? It's a bit like fraud, right? So this country is stricter on fraud than it is of raping young white working class girls. If you get done for a fraud or anything against the banking system, you'll get banged up for a long time. In fact, you could even be carried off for it, right? So why is it all the fraudsters, the top fraudsters, go to Dubai? That place is full of fraudsters, right? Trust me when I say that. And it's full of bankers. So the fraudsters all flock to Dubai. Now, if you go back and you look at missing trader inter-community fraud, VAT fraud, and then you look at a set period, let's say from, I don't know, 2000 to 2008, right? Something like 8 billion, I think it was 3 billion a year, but let's say it was 8 billion that they absolutely confirmed. That's 8 billion, not 8 million, 8 billion, right? Most of it was taken off us as taxpayers. It went through the Dutch Achilles Islands as a money laundering vehicle and ended up in Dubai, and there was another place, but it's on the tip of my tongue, right? But both Islamic centres, both thriving with fraudsters. Well, the reason that happens is because all the fraudsters are going to go there. It's a bit like that George, whatever his name was, Hockley or whatever, I can't remember his Cockerell or Cockley or Cockerell or something like that. The one who was Nigel Farage's mate, the one he said he's like a son to me. The one that went out to America with him and then come through the airport, he got lifted and banged up for a major wire fraud out there. I think he was either going to get 3 years. He had a deal, pleaded guilty, and got 8 months. Then they deported him. He now lives in, I believe it's Montenegro, and he is now funding a political party to campaign for Montenegro to go into the European Union, because they're all crooks and fraudsters, including Nigel Farage, by the way. You have been conned in a big way by Nigel Farage, right? And that's his mate, his best mate. Like he said, he's like a son to me. He's got millions of pounds from fraud. But what I'm trying to say to you is, if you create a place for one specific type of criminality, them type of criminals are going to go there. So it may be Thailand, or it may be I I don't know where the places are, but on Philippines. It could be anywhere where it's poor. They've got loads of little kids. They'll sell their kids to you if you're a paedophile, right? And there's no penalty for it, right? As long as you pay enough money, right? Then paedophiles are going to flock there. That's what they do if they've got the money to do it. Otherwise, they just snatch your kid off and abuse and murder the kid. So all I'm doing is trying to say to you that these situations do exist, but I am really pleased that, and I'm not just talking about a handful, there are quite a few people, and when I look at these photographs of these places all over England coming up with Restore Britain, I can see our members in the audience, and on a number of occasions, a little bit more than just members. Neil, you give turds a bad name. Missing trade of VAT fraud was chiefly an Indian and Pakistani gig. That's why they cleaned up and went to Dubai. But if you defraud the Emirates and get caught, God help you. There was a lot of Pakistanis involved with that. I absolutely agree. And Bangladeshis and Indians, etc. There was a particular family of Sikhs that I personally know that when they raided their house, I'm sure the figure was 6 million. They took 6 million in cash out of the house, and that was a family that I personally know. Right, they took 6 million in cash, and by the way, they was buying properties. Their families were solicitors. They was laundering the money. They was doing all sorts. There was a particular type of fraud which I won't go into that they was doing. Right. So don't forget, my interest is in systems, right? But if I see it's actively damaging you, it's the state. The missing trader into community fraud and VAT fraud was particularly bad because if you read the Lord's, if Lord was to read it, he'd freak. Because the law lords that were in charge of the inquiry actually said to the Treasury and to the head of the Treasury, well, you must know what you got coming in and going out. Can I see a balance sheet? Right. This is what the law lord said. Listen to this. And the Treasury come back and said, no, we haven't got a balance sheet. And the law lord said, what do you mean you haven't got a balance sheet? Do you mean you don't know what you've got coming in and going out? And they basically said no. The transactions but there's no actual balance sheet, right? So they can't even work out whether they're operating a deficit or technically or they've got a positive revenue stream from it. So you imagine all these fraudsters taking all this money, they're paying it out. So if you had a proper balance sheet, right, and you got it like that, and all of a sudden you see there's a massive, so that's what's coming in, and all of a sudden you're pushing more out in returns like that, and they're giving all this money out to these missing trader in the community fraudsters, right? If you had a balance sheet, you'd see the difference. It'll flash up. They had no balance sheet for it. I'm sure I've still got it here somewhere. I printed out the whole report. It might be upstairs still. I've got a big thick folder with the whole thing in it. It was a how to launch petition. Let me see if I can find it online. This is important, right? I'm not just saying it, but I think it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. What am I looking up? House of Lords missing trader inter community fraud. Inter-community fraud. Mission trader inter-community fraud is an organised crime scheme that exploits European Union VAT-free cross-border rules to steal billions in tax revenue. Criminals import goods VAT-free, sell them domestically with VAT, and there's other ways of doing this, by the way. But there was... Let me show you this. See if I can actually bring it up via PDF. House of Lords European 20th report. When was that one? Read more. Is that one? Let's see if it come up with the millions. Yeah, I'll show it to you now. I'll have to bring it up on the old. This is complex, right? I'm not suggesting that anyone will, unless you're seriously into fraud or systematic fraud, organised systematic fraud. You probably wouldn't understand some of this stuff, but what I'm going to do is show you it on the screen. Let me see if I can share this tab instead. Right, so this was the UK. When was that report? Because I want the 2008 one. I think it was 2008. So missing trader into community. So there it is there, right? Chapter 1, development of missing trader into community fraud. Missing trader into community fraud, MTIC fraud, is an exceptional crime. It is exceptional in its scope. HM Revenue and Customs, HMRC, believe approximately 3 billion was retained by fraudsters in 2005-6 financial year. So that's three. This went on for about 10 years. That's just 1 year, right? It is exceptional in its execution, a deliberate criminal act undertaken by criminal gangs whose activities, and by the way, they can only get away with this if the barristers, solicitors, lawyers, and politicians allow them to do it, right? Just think about that. Think about all these politicians that got there, that was putting contracts into personal protection equipment, right? You know, like COVID masks, right? Undertaken criminal gangs whose activities have led to distortion of the UK's trade figures. Now, a similar thing happened, if you think about it, right back in the 1200s with the Jews counterfeiting our currency. Right, deliberate criminal act figures, because the nature of the VAT system, companies are able to collect tax on behalf of the government and simply fail to remit it to the HMRC. It is a high-profile, lucrative, and systematic fraud, but one which requires a solution which will neither propel the problem into member states nor place it over onerous burden on legitimate businesses, right? So it goes into various things, and then it starts talking about the tax basic, and then it gives you a diagram of how the fraud works. And there was more to that, but let me see. And they tell you how to do it. They tell you how the fraud works. And there's loads of information. And then it tells you MRC estimates. These are just estimates because they didn't know how much had gone missing. Now, it stopped in 2008. It was worse, right? But in 1999, 2000, it was 1.5 to 2.4 billion. In 2001, it was 1.3 to 2.5 billion. You've only got to add this up, right? In 2001 to 2002, again, 2.5 billion. So say 3 billion a year. That's for 6 years. What's 3 6s?
18.
So 18 billion, and then you've got another 6 years on top of that, right? So 18, 218, son. My brain ain't working because of my eye.
36.
36, yeah. You're good at this, aren't you? You ever played darts?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So 36 billion, right? And what I'm telling you is this money was transferred through, in lots of cases, through the Dutch of Chiles, through what they would describe as tax havens and secretive tax havens, and including the British Virgin Islands, and then they would transfer it out, right? Don't forget, this system, right, and the banking system that involved when I was younger, I was an expert in that. The books I had on banking law and these particular places were thousands of pounds to buy, right? When I say I studied them, right? So again, all I'm doing is showing you this, right? HMRC produced two figures for 2006. One used existing methodology, produced an estimate of the size of the fraud at 1.4 to 2.4 billion, but this figure was not supported by operational indicators. And then it goes on, operational evidence instead suggests that the scale of attempted fraud in 2005 and 6 is, and it says there, just under 5 billion in 1 year, right? That's how massive this is. When I say we built Dubai, right? And these people was all involved in it. Do you all understand what that is? Now, there was a particular part, I'd have to go and find it for you. There was a particular part of this where they actually asked, let me see if I can, I doubt if it's going to allow me to find it. Find. I'm sure it said balance sheet, right? Balance sheet. None. Balance. Maintain a balance between, right, so let me put treasury. Treasury. It's not in there, right? Right, 100%. During this whole thing, I actually read the transcript. It was the transcripts that I read through, not just the report, right? Just to let you all know. So let me go back to this point again. Share this tab instead, right? So getting back to this, if that's what we're letting these people get away with, right? And they have got away with it for years. And Pakistani, someone said in there, it was mainly Pakistanis and Indians doing it. Absolutely. I will 100% guarantee you that they robbed this country blind, and it ain't just a benefit fraud, right? Now, if I knew that was going on, and I was talking about it, and I was talking about it on my other channel, you know, the one that they took down, I was talking about all them things. Tony Bloney, I'm so fucking awake. I bought a Templar Battle banner to laugh out loud. What? Simon Lacey, do you all get what I've just said? So this is not minor, right? And if that report, the transcript of the inquiry was about that thick, right? And I read every fucking page of it. Just moved across from X, hence the X. Oh, hello. Well, thank you to everyone that's coming across from X, right? And just to make sure you're all aware of this before I go any further, let me stop sharing that a second. The reason why Rumble is so good is because they have a system where this is a free speech platform, but we moderate our channel, right? So we are very careful about what's being said in the chat. You have to moderate the channel personally, right? So they give you the freedom and liberty. There's certain things you're not allowed to do. One of them is to incite violence, right? One is to slander someone intentionally, right? In other words, tell lies about people intentionally, right? I try and keep this to the Constitution, the English Constitution, and show you the evidence, right? And for anyone new out there, just to let you know, this is not a green screen, right? These are actually real books, right? Let me show you one of them, like that one there, right? That is a real book, right? And that's not a real dragon. I'm a real dragon. So making sure you all understand what's going on with Rumble. The reason why I tell people to get over this, because sooner or later, YouTube's going to get taken down hard, and so is Facebook. Whilst I do believe that X will continue, it is not a free speech platform, right? Because I've already been taken down under Elon Musk, because and the British are still controlling a lot of the algorithms that shut you down if you say certain things. They don't allow the propagation of our message on Twitter, Right? And that's already been confirmed by Grok, because Grok believes we are not civic, right? So all of them people out there that refer to civic nationalists. I'm not a civic nationalist. I'm an English constitutionalist, and civic unionism is what the British are, right? And what Grok does is promote that. They won't promote what we promote, right? And we're not national socialists either, right? I believe in a free market economy, full stop. I can earn a pound note, and I tell you what, I'll guarantee you, so can Shane, because you've got a brain, right? And that's what they bring all the regulations in, so they can take a corner off what you earn, because they can't earn a dollar. They're just thick, basically. So what they do is they create a way in which they can take your money. Like an old man in a chair on Rumble, Dr. Vernon Coleman. Yeah, no, they're all good. But just so getting back to Rumble, you have to have 5 strikes before they take your channel down, right? To get a strike, a single strike, it goes before a jury of 12 content providers, right? And it has to be unanimous decision to give you 1 strike. If you do get that 1 strike, they then give you an appeal to a higher level, which is like the higher level within Rumble, and they'll look, and it's almost impossible to get a strike. In other words, I wouldn't say it's impossible. If you was blatantly doing something you shouldn't be on Rumble, then the other content providers have a responsibility to the rest of the users on Rumble. And if they think it is warranted, they will find you guilty of and give you a strike. But then you've got an appeal. So that's why it's very difficult to be taken down. And the platform is growing and growing and growing. And they don't use AI in the way that they promote channels. They don't promote channels as such, apart from going on the front page, right? They don't promote channels. So Rumble is a good place to be, right? And if you want the truth, the real truth and nothing but the truth, and if you want to be educated on the English Constitution, if you want to know what's going on with us and what we're doing in the background, I would say to everyone, come on to Rumble. So if you're on Twitter now, if you're on YouTube now, come across, because register, find us. It's the full English show on Rumble. It's called the Daddy Dragon Channel. You'll see that we've got, I don't know, 9,600, 9,000, I don't know what it is, 9,000 something subscribers, but we need to get that over 10,000 this year, right? And then we're just going to continue doing what we're doing. And then next year, depending on what's going on with us, we'll be doing interviews on it and talking to people, because I think there's going to be a lot of things that's going to start happening. Graham, Steve Hillary of the Englishman is the lead for governor of California. Yeah, I know. I've got his books. Jason 6090. Have you ever read his books? I think I've got my. Let me see if I can find him. Why am I talking like someone's grabbing my nuts? Let me have a look if I can find it. Let me just see if I can find his book. It's only a small book. I hope I ain't thrown it away. It was a good book. Is that it? No, that's not it. Something. Combine. No. I'm sure I'll find it here. It's just not yet. Oh, these ones. The Battle of Mill Road. Tools for the next job. This is something. Oh, look at that one. I'm acting for the world. I'll have to put them back down there now. I'll be tripping over them later. Can't find it, but I've got it here somewhere. Field of Flight. What one was that one? Yeah, I'm sure he did something else as well. Ain't that one? Well, I ain't gonna be able to find it for you. But yeah, if you go and look up, so let me ask Jason, 6090. It's 15:15 now. I'll tell you what, Jason. One night you give me your email address and you can come on and we'll have a chat about what you think about Stephen Hill. It'd be really interesting. He's running as a conservative. Yeah, no, he is conservative. There was some. He still conflates British and English, which irritates me. But he knows the danger of China, and he should understand if he doesn't. But I think they could definitely. One of the things about California, I don't know, does everyone understand this? That California has got a very large. I mean, as far as I know, a couple of 100,000 secessionists. People want there's a Californian exit movement there to leave, and the reason I know that is because when I did the conference in Texas, and I was talking to the Texans. By the way, they kept I'd done 3 different lectures there, and they said like we can come do another, and the Texans was loving it, right? That was a massive event at Waco. Massive event, right? Big building, filled it up proper. But there was about 3, 4, 5 different states and presidents of the secession movement of each state was there, and I'd met them all. And the Californian guy that wanted. So I think now they've started seeing the secession movements moving forward because everyone's saying we've had enough of this. If this is what centralised looks like, we don't want nothing to do with it, right? Well, the unionism in effect is centralisation, and they've let it take control. Let's have a look. Joe, yeah, I'm familiar. Awesome. YouTube is getting more radicals on there now for some reason. I don't know about radicals. They know they're not. YouTube know. Once people find out what they've been doing in the background, and they will, look at the Texas movement. They went to court in Texas and presented a case to the Supreme Court in Texas. And the judge in that case, under disclosure rules, stated categorically, right, I want you to show me the algorithms for this Texas movement. And they showed it to him, and it clearly showed that they was limited the reach of the Texas movement. And the judge said, switch them off now. All of the platforms, switch them off now. That goes against the First Amendment, right, against free speech and freedom of expression and these people connecting with each other. You can't do that, right? And they shut it down. As soon as they went like that and switched it off, their movement went, right? We've got the same problem in England, right? Because it's obvious that the union is going to protect itself, and it's going to protect created as a British nationality in 1948. Well, I said to someone the other day, it might be fairly obvious, but in 1948 again, they top and tailed Section 2 of the English Bill of Rights, right? Not Article 2, Section 2. They top and tailed it, which was unlawful. And then in 1860, they took out Section 3, right, completely, which protected all our ancient laws. They wasn't allowed to touch the Bill of Rights, right? Not at all, but they did it by stealth. But what they did was created a Politburo, a centralised Politburo, a Star Chamber, right? The king is a puppet. That's all he is, right? The people actually controlling this, everything, is the civil service. They're the ones with the real power. And these law books tell you they must be purged. So you imagine there's someone like me going through all the old laws, and it's not just me, there's a team of us, right? I am nothing special. I'm just a crank who stands up in the High Court and tells the judges what we found, right? And then you've got the dodgy judges. The only way you're going to get rid of them judges if you elect. That's why they don't want you to vote. Anyone not voting is assisting the enemy, right? Even if you vote, I do not consent. Ashby versus White, 1703. But that doesn't deal with the problem of crooked judges, right? The only way you can deal with if you get a commitment from Restore England, right? If you get a commitment from Restore England, we are going to impeach all of these judges. We're going to pull the ticket of where these corrupt. We know who these corrupt judges. Where were they educated? Oxford. London School of Economics. Cambridge. We'll pull the tickets, right? Because you know where the head of the snake is, and the real head of the snake is Oxford University. And I'm talking about anyone that went to that university. I don't care whether they've got a chemical degree, whether they've got PhDs, masters. I don't care. Take everything off them, because that then sends a warning to all the other universities. This is what we're going to do to you, right? And then you can go through the alumni of that university. You can go back to the previous judges and say, right, get your pensions, sell your property, because all of that is damages that we're paying to the people because of what you've done, right? That's the way you take down a system. I'm a system engineer, right? I know how to see these things and how it works. It might be collective punishment. What the fuck do you think they've been doing to us and our kids? We're not chopping them. We're just taking everything off them. Let me tell you something. Let's go and get them judges. They're all nice and retired. Corrupt judges sitting on their farms. Right? That's all right, mate. Now pack the fucking shelves in Tesco's. That's the only way you're going to get food. Right? And you can live in that one bedroom flat. Right? With lady whoever. By the way, all their titles are gone as well. You just call them tart. Jason 16 laugh. No, good one, Tracy. What's this one? Right. And Cambridge Uni is for the spooks. Yeah. You mean spooks as in... It's funny, you know, there's a difference between the pigeons in London and the pigeons here. Did you know that? In London, they've got used to black people. And they're quiet now. They just sit there and look. Because all the white people are gone. But when a pigeon in Devon sees a black person, they go, look at the coon, look at the coon, look at the coon. It's an old joke. Right. Oh, ones are the best ones. No, there's a strategy I can get behind. Now, there's a strategy. I know. There's things... Listen, you have to be... I've done that, by the way. You have to be a strategist. You have to have a plan. And if you're serious about being anti-establishment, you need to get people elected to do what we've got to do. And by the way, first thing you want to do is abolish British Nationality Act. And then you tell everyone on your manifesto, we are going to enforce our constitution and put our constitution back the way it was. Because then you'll remove all the foreigners from parliament, from councils. Sadiq Khan couldn't be. the Mayor of London, right? And there's plenty of other things you can do. Regionalisation has to completely go. We want Middlesex back, right? I would go back to the home counties, right, and say, right, now we're extending again like we did before. I would have borough commanders would be borough sheriffs and must be elected by the people. So the borough sheriff would be someone with police or legal experience, right, or a normal member of parliament, but for the borough, and you elect them, and they get paid and they get bonuses for doing the right by you. Just let me just give a quick example of something here, because I had a fascinating conversation with someone who's going to shout out in a minute. And it was to do with the old bill, right? So Janet used to work in a pub in the East End. And she said to me, there's some cops in there, but for another reason. Anyway, this cop started being really stroppy with her and started getting really abusive. And he'd been there a number of hours. And they all think they can do what they want. So she walked out from behind the bar and slapped him around the face, right, in front of all his mates. And he went, oh, I deserved that. And that was it. But that's not the actual story. Just to let you know, she's fucking like a Rottweiler. Right, she's a proper East Ender, right? But there was a massive fight in the pub. And when I say a massive fight, the whole pub was fighting, right? And at one end of the pub of these groups of people, there was two groups of people. One was CID out of the East End, and there was a big super nick that they built, right? But at one end of the pub, right, was all the CID, and at the other end of the pub was the normal police constables, and they'd been on a piss in there for various reasons, and they hated each other, and they started a massive fight, like proper full Comanche affray, right? Members of the public had made 999 calls to the police to say there was a massive punch-up, and I mean proper punch-up. Now, none of these people was worried or trying to escape and all that, because they was the old bill, right? But there was members of the public in there that watched that disgusting behaviour, right? So because that had happened and it had gone through a number of calls through 999 to the police, some days later, there was an investigation over it, big investigation, and the chief commander or whatever of this super station come in there and spoke to the governor. Well, Janet and the governor knew each other really well, right? She was basically there when a conversation happened, and the governor and the copper said that this is the top guy. He says, you are well within your rights to take this further. We have had a number of complaints from the public about this disgusting incident. Right, the copper was disgusted about it, right, and this wasn't a fray. It was serious for everyone involved, right? But we hope that you won't take it any further. Bearing in mind they all drink in there, right? Bearing in mind he's a publican. Bearing in mind he don't get a license without their say-so, right? And the bloke is basically saying, hopefully we can deal with it outside of that, right? And that's basically how they got away with it. Is that roughly the story?
Yeah, that's basically it. All he said was he'll keep the uniform out there for a few weeks till it all calms down.
They're going to keep the uniforms out there, but the CID can carry on drinking, right? Now, this is a pub I used to drink in, by the way. I hasten to add, before the fucking Supermax is in there, because when I went in there, weren't no fucking old Bill in there, right? In fact, it was fucking full of my type of people, to be honest, proper people, I would say, right? And then it changed with the Supermax police station, right? So prior to that, just up Bethnal Green Road, you had so as you entered Bethnal Green Road, on the left you had a small Bethnal Green police station, and then they built this fucking Supermax, and it's about just them churning through information. Big Brother came. Let's have a look. I learned the Second Amendment came from the English Constitution in the 80s reading a gun magazine. My teacher in school didn't know that. Funny you should say that. I will go into a lot of detail with this. And I am going to I might try and write 2 books, right? One is the English Constitution and show, and by the way, it will be the Constitution from our point of view, the subject of the realm, not from the point of view of the state, right? That's the difference. So if you read Constance, that's George Constance, that's how he did it. Let me just go and write this. Do you all know what this book is? Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll bring it up on the screen, right? Let me find the page for you. It's the Kerr case that I want. Or her case. Presumption, consistent usage. It is important that I show you this. It's all in this book. By the way, you can go and get all this information online. Right, let's reading law by Justice Scalia. Right, forwards, managed canyons, stabilising, 13 falsities exposed. Note addition shortly. Judge, I'm just going to make sure you see this because it's in here. So interpretation, supremacy of text principle, the word of governing text of paramount concern, and what they convey in their context is what the text means. Presumption against ineffectiveness, mixed. One if it's in here. Ooh, let me see if I can find it for you. Reason, reconstructing, realism. Where is it? What would it be under? It'd be under heard. Read. Rent and vile. I've got to show you this because it's important. Are you all still hearing me? Right. Well, where's the right? Rights, war and peace. Retain right, people, Barnett. Right to judicial review. Rise and fall of texturing, rise and fall of provisional. So it would be the her case, I reckon. I think it was HERR. English courts, Hanbury, English American judges, English courts, English law in the background, English legal system, English private law, English public law, ensure fair trial, international criminal court, enterprising judges. And then F. Where's my H? Oh, here we go. I'm sure it was Hello New Originalism. Was it Hella? Was it the Hella case or was it her? I'm sure it was HERR. It might be that one. Hella 504. Not sure if it's in this, but I didn't actually write it out before. 504. 504. No, can't find it here. I'd have to actually. Where did I put that one? Oh, no. I bet you love me boring you to death trying to find something, don't you? Let me see if I can find it on here. Justice Scalia. Scalia. And was it the her case? Bill of Rights. Let me see if it comes up. British Bill of Rights. Influence religion calls Antonia no dumping. Common law. 2-3 discussion of Scalia and Bill of Rights, American democracy. I'll tell you what. I won't do that. I'll try and do something else. But that was an interesting case. Accept all. Right. Let's see if I can find it on here for you. Because it's on. But I want to explain something else. That's why I'm trying to find it, because it's really important. Right to keep and bear arms. Justice. Scalia. Let's see if I can put it on there. Where he actually says it. Let me see if I can put this up there. All right, you still all there? Because I'm not watching you at the moment. Let me have a look. This is important. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting the effort in. Oh, here it is. Found it straight on my timeline. And don't forget, this has been taken down a number of times. When they've taken it off, had so much of this stuff taken down. But this is important that you see this, right? It came from the English, right? So I'm going to bring it up on the screen. Here we go. Right, so you can see this. Just listen to what's said, right? The Second Amendment does not grant us the right to bear arms. The Second Amendment denies the government the authority to infringe upon our right to bear arms, right? Same for the English, except the English have forgotten this.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It makes thorough sense if you understand the history.
How it should be done. 2008 case of District of Columbia versus Heller, in which you wrote the decision upholding the individual right to possess firearms, a decision that runs to more than 60 pages of very close textual and historical analysis. Reading law, quote, the Second Amendment did not say that the people shall have the right to keep and bear arms, or even that, quote, the government shall not prevent the people from keeping and bearing arms, but rather that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This triggered historical inquiry. So how does the history inform the reading of what strikes a layman like me as a very tricky text, that prefatory clause, comma?
The right of the people to keep and bear, as though it was a pre-existing right. And that triggered historical inquiry that takes you back to the English Bill of Rights, which sure enough contained the right to keep and bear arms. Again, if you studied history, what's the connection between not taking away arms, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and the militia? It seems very strange. But historical inquiry shows you what the connection is. The way the Stuart kings, the Catholic kings, destroyed the militia, which was supposed to be all of the male citizens trained to arms. The way they destroyed the militia was not by abolishing it. They just took away the arms of all of those who opposed the Catholic kings. And so there is a connection. A well-regulated militia being necessary for the defense of a free state, a militia consisting of all of the body of the citizenry, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It makes thorough sense if you understand the history.
Right, did you all get that? So what I'll do is I'll put that on there, copy link, and I'll send it out again. Right, so what I'm going to do is I will send that. Oh dear, stop sharing. I don't know if I can get into that. Push. Well, let's go and see. There's another one I want to look at. Yeah, I know. I've just seen a comment. So someone sent me a comment and say they're a bit worried about how easy it is, but it ain't really easy. They've got a lot of money wrapped around them. I mean, Rupelow's got probably about 60 million of his own money. They have raised in excess of 10 million. If I told you how much they've raised just from one other, it's a massive amount of money. But I just want to make sure that's on there. Now, I used to go through this all the time. I'm going to put this on there for everyone to see it. Give it another tweet if you want. I think that's only had 196 views. People should be smashing that, right? Now, he didn't make an error in what he said, but if he had been English and spoken to an English constitutionalist like me, he would have understood that it was a pre-existing right. So it was reaffirmed in the English Bill of Rights. It was an ancient right and custom of the English and the Anglo-Saxons, went all the way back, right? So that's why they cannot touch it. And it beggars belief, absolutely beggars belief, that people just don't understand that. But when you think since the early 1970s, they removed it from the school curriculum, everything about our constitution, from the school curriculums, from bar exams. They kept it in grammar schools for a little while, but not that long. But the most important thing that you should it was deliberate to take it out of the education system. And the people that did that had been trained and educated in Oxford University. Remember that. And don't forget that the custodians of the ancient laws and customs and the laws of the realm, ancient laws of the realms, is Cambridge University. Although the ancient parchments are kept in the House of Lords, right? Just so you know that, right? So again, when you understand all of this stuff, I'm going to be looking the Rogue Court. So one other thing, I mean, I hope you all just enjoyed seeing that. I don't know if Jason's out there from the US. Is it the first time you've seen that? I've covered these cases in depth. I will find it in that book and show people. But if you actually look at the actual Bill of Rights and what it says, and by the way, it cannot be. So if you look in the Declaration of Rights and you go up again, I've got this marked off, hopefully at the right spot. If you go and have a look at this, election of parliaments ought to be free. And I'm sure it was I think it was Article, that was Article 6. That was that one. Prerogative. And there was 27 heads of terms. And it goes into detail about all of these, right? But he tells you the history of it. Article 5, maybe it was Article 7. Let's have a look. Yeah, Article 7. The subjects which are Protestants may have arms for their defence suitable for their condition and as allowed by law. As allowed by law means the ancient laws and customs and for self-defence, right? That's what as allowed by. But what you get are these communists telling you, yeah, we can do what we want. No, they can't, right? And then it goes into that whole chapter goes into detail because this book, let me just show you it. Let's see if I can bring this down and show you. This is a particular book that's important. Don't forget, when I write this, take that off. When I write the book, I'm going to be putting all this information on why it's so important, right? Hopefully, you probably won't be able to see that now. Let's see if I can take the angle off it. No, probably cut that up quite a bit. Right. Article 7 the subjects Protestants may have arms for their defence, right? The person who wrote this book and the other book had access to information that no one else had access to. So Article 7 claimed as a right of the subject that Protestants may have arms for their defence, suitable for their condition and as allowed by law. It responded directly to the charge, number 6, that James had caused Protestants to be disarmed, meaning Catholics. At the same time, Catholics were armed and employed contrary to the law, right? The two clauses suitable for their conditions and as allowed by law were amendments introduced at the House of Lords. Their effect was to limit the right to bear to arms to Protestant upper classes according to the laws already passed in the form first proposed to the Lords. The article had claimed that all subjects who were Protestants, regardless of social and economic status, had the right to possess arms, but in its final form, the article confirmed previous laws except for granting to Protestants the exclusive right to have arms. Two questions surround the article. One, what explains it, right? So I'm going to try and put this in there so you can see it, right? This is, like I say, this goes through the actual information. The terms of the article that was sent to the upper house, and 2, why did the peers insist upon the amendments, right? And there was only 8 peers involved, right? Article 7 had appeared originally in the Heads of Grievances, Clause 7, as a claim that it was necessary for the public safety that Protestant subjects should provide and keep arms for their common defence, and that arms which have been seized and taken from them should be restored. For the reasons that I have alluded to the record, the call to restore arms, there's that word restore, arms to Protestants was deleted in February 7th draft, leaving the claim that all Protestants were guaranteed the right to possess weapons, all of us, right? This claim had several related sources. First, it reflected hostility to the Stuart kings, preference for standing armies, perceived as riddled with Catholics. And again, it's not the Catholics who were the problem, it was the Jesuits, right? And that was later proved. And their neglect of the militia comprised of Protestants, right? So mainly the militias were Protestant. In that respect, it was closely related to Article 6, which prohibited a standing army in peacetime without Parliament's consent. The militia, composed ideally of Protestant freeholders and offered and officered by local aristocracy, and I can take you through that, was the military force which the parliamentary opposition said they preferred. The idea that a reformed militia might serve as a counterweight to a professional army first appeared in 1648, and when the Militias Ordinance was passed, and it reappeared in 1673. Are you all right with this? Do you mind me reading this out? Give me a shout if you want me to carry on. As a dislike of the Charles II standing army and his foreign and domestic policies sharpened, Henry Capel said then that militia will defend the nation and never conquer it. Right? So the militia was us. It's not about conquering our nation. It's about defending our nation against tyranny. Right? Which is why it's so important people need to understand this stuff. And currently we are being conquered by an external force that the government's doing nothing about, right? Never conquer it. In 1674 and again in 1678, the Commons asked Charles to embody the militia and depend upon it rather than upon professional soldiers. The avowed purpose of the Militia Bill of 1678 was to train the militia to be guards to the king. So we protected the king. That he might have no further use of an army. Charles vetoed that bill. which he was entitled to do. The next month, the parliamentary opposition asked for a general arming of the nation against papists, urged the repeal of the non-resisting oath so that the president's subjects might resist papist demand by an appeal to the Act of 1585, which enabled the nobility and the gentry to arm against the possibility that Elizabeth I should be murdered, right, by Catholics. After Monmouth's rebellion in 1685, there's an issue with Monmouth, right? James planned to discard the militia, describing it as not sufficient to protect the nation. He intended that the weapons of militia be confiscated in Ireland, Scotland, and to a lesser extent in England. During James' only parliament, the Commons' response to this threat was, as already noted, to bring in a bill to make the militia more effective. In order, why is this going all funny on me? Oh, right, I've got you. It's because I'm scraping along, right, on the wrong thing, right? Let me have a look now. I should be able to get there. During James' only parliament, the Commons' response to this was already noted, to bring in a bill to make the militia more effective. In other words, to arm Protestants against Catholics. Although genuine anxiety that a standing army filled with Catholics would overrun the militia composed of Protestants was inherent in those moves, there was also an element of partisan propaganda. Article 7 implicitly underlined the popish character of the king and his policies, and played upon the anxieties of the people outside elite political and social categories, which is basically what it does with me. Mob's attack against Catholic illustrate understood national politics, at least in part terms, of the papist, anti-papist dichotomy. Fear of Catholics, fear of, right? It's not just a fear. In that day, they was just as bad, right? There's loads more of this. I'll go through this on another night, right? But it needs to be addressed, right? Because in effect, we have been disarmed yet again, right? And I've got to take all that stuff with me just to make sure you see. Can you see that? I've shown you that once, didn't you? Do you like that? Tell me if you like that one. Look at that sticker. Patriotism is not a crime. England. Look at that. You like that, don't you? Right? You like that sticker? Right, that's it. I'm going to go back to there. Go back to my normal screen. I apologise for being a bit jumpy out there in the background, but there it is. Rebel long live the wasp. Yep. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. That is exactly what I am. Very smart. Don't know about you, but I am sick of hearing about the Pope and Popery. We need to remove this ponce from England. Yeah, I know. Agreed. Entirely. I want one, DD. The thing that people have got to understand is George Galloway went straight over there and kissed the hand of the Pope. Tony Blair went straight, as soon as he finished being a Prime Minister, with his wife, he'd become a Catholic, went straight over and kissed the hand of the Pope. And people think that I'm just paranoid. Really? Same shit, different day. That is epic, DB. Right, so that's it anyway. I'm going to say love you and leave you. I've got top notes in Catholic Church are satanic. I've heard, yeah, they are. They all are. Hi, Graham. The murder weapon used in Henry Novick murder was a Kapan. Kapans come in all shapes and sizes. The Sikh Kharazis are getting away with it. Not good for our country. Yeah, I know. Well, we should be armed anyway. No Roman. That's a bit like arming the Catholics and not the Protestants again. Someone's got to say this is illegal. Good night, DD, and all you wonderful patriots. The Constitution is the solution. It is. Good night. God bless. I will see you tomorrow evening. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution, right? And I will be going through a lot of that. Don't forget, we've got this coming up. It's on your screen now. I'm going to leave it up for a little while. But good night. God bless. And I'm going to go through a lot more.